For those who don't know me, I'm Misha. I am one of the founders of the EDMC project, and as I called it myself once, the spiritual father of the new Dropper application. Tonight, I'll guide you through the ins and outs of the new platform and what it offers for all audiences. That's my role for tonight, so I'm excited about it. I have to be careful not to talk too fast to prevent ADHD from running rampant with my brain cells. Right now, if you guys throw an EDMC at me, I'll talk about the project for an hour or three. So I'm going to try to keep it brief. If it doesn't quite work out that way, then I hope my fellow team members give me a kick under the table. One of the first core values and missions of our project when we started was that we wanted to begin fostering new talents and new productions. Two main issues plagued the industry: revenue challenges for artists and a lack of transparency. But actually a much bigger problem, and then certainly this has only gotten worse in the last 2 years. The overload on platform algorithms also hindered producers from reaching their audience with those who truly love it. At that time, various initiatives had already begun, hundreds, perhaps thousands in the realm of digital assets, NFTs, decentralized social platforms, and engagement platforms. These initiatives experienced varying degrees of success. We also seriously considered how we could assume that role. However, concerns about the poor security of NFTs in general, especially during that hype, deterred us from immediate involvement. Especially, we were keen on implementing that NFT, aiming to begin linking value and utilities within the network. One thing I've learned in my 20 years of ICT is that technology is a means to an end and not an end in itself. And we have fortunately always managed to stick to that. It was actually April of this year. When I was with Stefan and Richard at the Dutch blockchain days, we came into contact with the people behind LTO. They guided me through their project. What had they done? They had divided the blockchain into a private and a public layer. They had developed that for governments only because some individuals in their project were passionate about music. They started building a version 2.0 NFT, which they named Titanium. That was the moment, the seed, when my mind began to whirl, because that was the insight when I thought, okay, the dream we had of adding something to the EDM community within an existing economy, I believe is now realized. What is it? What is Dropper? Dropper is a decentralized talent hub packaged in a music player where producers around the world can drop unreleased material on our platform, who can thereby connect directly with the global community of dance music lovers. Dance music fans can listen to the artist, like vote through the gamification mode in the platform on the selected tracks. That means if you have to compare it with liking, disliking, super liking, we said at one point, guys, we'll name that super like star drops, and those star drops, those super likes, the users on the platform can earn them by listening and voting. So once they get into the gamification mode of the application, they actually start earning. Every user can allocate those star drops to a track they find cool, something that deserves to be heard in the global marketplace. What we do is collect all those star drops on the back end, and when a track has garnered sufficient star drops in collaboration with LTO, we'll move forward to mint it. This is where a crucial connection with Web3 comes in. We will deploy not only the track recovery ID, but also the contract within that NFT. In this process, we ensure that music rights are secured for the musician. However, a crucial aspect is that a portion of the royalties is distributed to all the community members who actually gave that star drop. In doing so, we ensure that we engage the community as a global talent scout, allowing them to benefit from the effort they put into our platform. Every star drop given also increases the value of that NFT. Consequently, the more star drops a specific track receives, the more valuable the NFT becomes. And that's also necessary for a breakthrough. You need volume within your community. This community is a crucial marketing step for us in the future. Why? Because musicians, upon uploading their music, receive a media kit from us, enabling them to activate their own fan base to join the platform. On the other hand, we also encourage community members to identify someone in their network whom they think should be featured on the platform. Don't just suggest sign them up, plug them in. This way you see that musicians, DJs, and producers become integral parts of the entire community. It's crucial to emphasize on behalf of the whole team that we aim to play the role of a decentralized talent scout. We have no ambition to take over the work of record labels. In fact, we are currently building a portal to provide record labels a management application. This allows them to monitor activities in our network, and maybe if there are talents they believe align with their brand, they can approach them directly. Of course, we will determine and set the fees for that, as well as the role the artists will fulfill as ambassadors in a later deployment. Then you have to consider, on one hand, perhaps sponsored internships or festivals, because that's always been our base. This is how we address the challenge of protecting and preserving the quality of festivals and their survival. Last but not least, to provide them with internship opportunities in our own club within the metaverse. I believe I've painted a comprehensive picture of what the platform currently does and its potential. That concludes my initial contribution. Now Gideon can take the baton from me and guide us through the plans for the next 3 to 4 months.
Thank you, Misha. I'd love to do that. My role in this is particularly focused on the strategic direction and the financial underpinnings of the project. And I can say that my daily spending is many, many times greater than it was 6 months ago. And that's good because it means a lot is happening in our project. It's not just based on what we do, but also on what the community, the EDM community that we address, and the entire blockchain crypto community surrounding us, of course, have in mind regarding what they want with us and what they want from us. And that ensures that we are constantly testing our project, the vision of our project, the ideas, the plans that we have, and also the things that we have already done. We need to test them against the new input, against the impulses that we receive from the outside. So it means that we are constantly in conversation with various parties. Sometimes we know that it's probably not something for us, but at other times it's also beneficial to receive input from parties that are not directly related to us or parties that may be very critical of us. The same goes for the community. We are also completely open to people who provide feedback from the community. I think at this stage where we are now, we have come a long way. And that ensures that by now we also have enough confidence to actually dare to pronounce hard on certain concrete steps towards the project, towards the community, including, for example, a listing. The phase we are in now is actually that most of you are familiar with it, of course, that we already have an important period behind us in which we did a pre-sale towards our partner Kanaken. That pre-sale served mainly to create land on which to develop our project. Both the finances that came out of that, but also the startup of an early adapters community to which we could show, listen, you will eventually become our ambassadors. We are making a promise to an EDM community, and we have been working very hard over the past 1.5 to 2 years to fulfill those promises. We value more credibility of our project. We are not here for the short term. We are really here to stay. We're really here for the long term. So that means that sometimes you have to make choices that are not immediately visible to the outside world, but that have been in the interest of the community, in the interest of that EDM industry. These choices may have led to a smaller community than if we had invested more in marketing. However, this was a deliberate decision. What did happen? We did survive. Decent bear market so far. We are still here. We also observe changes in the market, especially in the mainstream traditional economy, but certainly in the crypto and blockchain world. We notice a shift in sentiment. We are cautious. I'm not suggesting a complete turnaround just yet, not at all, but there does seem to be some vitality returning. A pulse, a heartbeat is slowly coming back. We are very cautious about that. We remain cautious in what we do and how crazy we want to get, because we still have some things to develop. One significant development, however, is the turn we have taken. I say turn and not a complete revolution, because it has always been a part of our promise and ambition to the community. This is the entire dropper story that Misha just mentioned. That does represent a fundamental shift in our focus, one that we made based on the input of the community, but also the input of our partners. We also observe that by carefully listening to the community and leveraging the knowledge within our team, we have demonstrated great flexibility. We've been able to shift gears effectively, navigating with limited resources in a challenging market. Despite the difficulties, we've managed to make a sort of leap against the tide with our project and find ourselves in a better position than we were 6 months ago. The wait has been long enough. A concrete listing is coming up. Undoubtedly, this will raise a lot of questions that we have been pondering over the past few weeks and months since we dared to announce it. We have managed to answer most of those questions, and we want to provide that opportunity for you as well. But it's quite a moment, considering we have been deeply involved with this project for the past 2 years. It is quite a milestone for us to have been able to plant that flag, signifying that the listing is now concretely coming up. Talks have been initiated with exchanges that we intend to consider for listing. Mind you, these are not how we say it in Rotterdam, Hubis Colubus exchanges. These are parties that truly understand what needs to be done and how to manage a project with our ambition, with our intended footprint. More on that later. So, an important milestone that I wanted to be the first to share with you, providing insight into the community listing. Absolutely, 2024. Only you know the market, everything has to align. I am confident that the project is absolutely on track for listing in the first half of 2024 as currently planned. So, what are we working on now? Once again, there are discussions with exchanges to set it up and begin rolling it out. Additionally, there are discussions with VC parties that want to support us, parties that already support us and want to continue supporting us not only in this phase but also in the coming years. And that is very positive, because just as we are not in this for the short game, the short term, we also don't want to enter into a partnership with parties who are only in it for the short term. We want to build lasting relationships. An example of that over the past 2 years has been the partnership we've had with Slam. To many, that seemed like a catchy idea, a piece of advertising. None of it is true. It is a real partnership. The contacts with Slam are very good. Only at one point, we chose to go a little smaller, to focus in the other direction in terms of the development of the project, to introduce the dropper story. But the partnership with Slam, for example, still stands. And that is an example of a party bound to us in the sense that we want to see that not for the short term, but for a long-term cooperation. And there are a number of others like that. In the run-up to the listing, we're talking about the coming weeks and months. We're going to reveal what partnerships we have. These are reputable names in the market, both in the crypto market and the dance market, in the EDM community. So, all in all, we're not just building a network anymore. We are leveraging a network of parties that EDMC is collaborating with or already has collaborations with. And why do I emphasize that so much? Because it contributes to the credibility of our project. Quite a few festivals know us. currently in the Netherlands and the Benelux, but there's ambition in that too. We're going to grow in that area as well. However, our network is obviously the biggest here, closest to home. Here are our early adopters, here are the ambassadors, so it's logical that we need to expand beyond the Dutch and Benelux markets. Plans for that are also in place, and that will unfold more over the course of the year. So, the phase of having a seat at the table with key players in the EDM community, but also in the whole blockchain crypto story, makes our project stronger than ever. We are very stable right now. And yes, we have been cautious, but I will say it. That stability, which has been an ambition and a goal of ours, has been achieved. Keep an eye on the channels because there's going to be a lot of news on there in the near future. So far.
Nice, Gideon. If I have permission to proceed and the team approves, I would be happy to take over. I always excited at the moment, Gideon, when I hear you talking about it again, giving those promises back to that community, to those early adapters. And when I reminisce about that, my mind is already in the summer. 2 years ago at Festival Anzi, where we were able to provide those early adopters with a VIP deck for the first time. They could simply enjoy a dance event in the shade for those who preferred it, with their private toilet facilities for those who wanted to use them. And that stage wouldn't have been there. If we hadn't been there, that stage wouldn't have been there either. It's a moment where we accomplish things together with the community. It's a great example of how we can collaborate and work together towards something with the added aspect of ensuring you maintain focus. The dropper story, which we'll delve into later, is a perfect example of channeling our focus toward the future of our project. As Mies pointed out, I like to examine our project from a data perspective, which is also where my expertise lies. Therefore, let me share some facts about what we have collectively achieved so far. We now have just under 1,000 holders, meaning around 1,000 early adopters who, with little marketing effort, have joined the project. Still see their salvation in our EDMC project, for which also thank you all very much. On average, we have just under 6,000 tokens per early adopter, and over $200,000 have been raised. The 200,000 was also accumulated from 2 pre-sale rounds that we had conducted. This happened during a time when the entire crypto world was still in a state of excitement. The majority, just under 170,000, was raised during that period. During the bear market, as one can imagine, people became a bit more cautious. However, even then, we managed to raise a respectable 50,000 and just kept going. There will be new statistics, not only because I love that, but also because tomorrow the pre-sale closes. That also means that after tomorrow, we are going to get new updates on what has happened in the last few weeks, and we will start sharing those stats with you soon. Meanwhile, in terms of communication, we are also pleased that Joachim has been brought on board for the moderation of the Telegram channels. It's evident that we are putting effort into professionalizing our communication. Additionally, a Medium channel will soon be launched, where we will provide more content in a somewhat more business-like manner, and we will also provide updates on our EDMC project. I am very curious about Dropper, though. I don't know if Misha is as excited about that either. And Gideon, we want to start giving Wesley the floor, but I too get excited about that every time I see it. So Wesley, boy, come on in, man, show it.
We've waited long enough together. We've tried to stretch the story a little bit with each other to maximize the momentum for you. So I would say, Wesley, bring on the first images.
Well, let's see the first images. A little background as I turn these on. We were approached by EDMC and by Misha a few weeks back with an idea, and actually so captivated by the passion and the energy behind it, and the fact that we are all incredibly into music, making that partnership and now really being on board as a full partner there. and really working 100% on how can we market EDMC and Dropper as a product to get as big a market share as possible, to get as many producers on it as possible with their new tracks, and to start building that talent pool. So as you see now is a first kind of demo to the Dropper environment where you come in as a user. So where you say, I'm going to log into my account. So you guys just very quickly walk over there. Also, this is the welcome to your interface in Dropper. This is where you come in as a user. And this is where actually the personalization piece and the discovery piece starts. Dropper is largely plugged in all around what's going on right now. What do people think is cool right now? And at some point we can start personalizing that based on what are you listening to and what do you think is cool? How are the numbers sitting? Where does the data sit? What are people listening to? And where are these new artists? Where do we find those new artists? And how do we connect those new artists with the people who love that genre, love those subgenres? So the whole principle around EDMC is very much built around discovery. It's big around album art, around showing the individual identity of the artists and the identity of the music and really bringing that out. So you see the player here. This is where you as a user come to listen to those tracks and also to give those stars, like Misha just said, those star drops, and to leave that feedback well. So we really tried to create a kind of environment where you get immersed as a user and where that music is really central with album art, big and vibrant, colorful. Here's another one as an example, or some fun examples to go through. So that's how you end up at some point at the whole app where you can go as a music lover to find your tracks, to find your artists, to discover your new music. So you are indeed talking about great graphics again. You're talking about a whole welcoming kind of graphics. And you're talking about an environment that you basically want, that users can project themselves into, and where that music, regardless of the subgenre within EDM, whether it's hardstyle, dance music, house music, or whatever, becomes a place where everyone can find themselves in it. It should be a space where music lovers can build a community with each other for music lovers by music lovers. And so together we can put a truly great platform on the market, one that we can also build upon. And where, as we just said, we are here for the long term. So we can also progress in the long term and continue to add features over time. Keep building on the platform. That's just a quick look at the Dropper interface for now. More details will be shared in the next couple of weeks. We are actively working on the technology behind it, coding to ensure that everyone can have the app in their hands as soon as possible. We aim for users in the Netherlands and beyond to discover their new EDM music through Dropper.
Shall we share for the form of our camera again? Yes. Super, thank you. We're here, definitely, so cozy. Thank you, Wesley, for your contribution. The front end is always the most appealing, the one we end up having in our hands, showing on the phones in the pub. So, we know together that the back end is the marquee thing. That, of course, will also be the crossover that bridges to our own smart contract, to the services, the platforms of the collaborating partners. I always say it like this. We always get the most applause on the front end, while the back end is actually the most work. Speaking of which, perhaps it's nice to touch on very briefly the reason for our new contract. It's fascinating to see our progress.
Yes, we recently implemented a crucial upgrade to the EDMC smart contract. This deployment is not just a routine update, it marks a strategic move towards ensuring future scalability and streamlined development. The primary innovation lies in the introduction of an upgradable smart contract. This means we can seamlessly integrate new features and improvements without resorting to complex deployment scenarios. The new contract adheres to the existing EDMC standards, encompassing elements like transfer fees, technical refinements, and risk mitigation measures such as a blacklist. The noteworthy change is the ability to facilitate upgrades directly, eliminating the need for intricate token migrations. This strategic enhancement is pivotal for fostering effective communication within the broader ecosystem and ensuring seamless support for future developments. And so that includes all those connections.
Yes, I believe that was indeed the primary reason to begin writing the story again, at least from our perspective, but also for the future. At least we still have some programming space so we can update. Because, as Wesley mentioned, sometime in the next week, we make another shift to provide current wallet holders with the new tokens. Of course, Naken is the most important partner in this, as they manage enough wallets. The people who had transported already from Naken to an external wallet, those we will simply give a direct swap on the blockchain, a direct swap, or at least an offer to get them ready so they can start getting their tokens. And with that, we have at least secured that part of our own architecture and infrastructure already standing. Are there any additional questions coming in, Joachim? Or have we pretty much covered everything?
Yes, there were no new questions via the chat, but there was one question in the beginning, though, but that is about which CX or DEX we are going to launch at.
Once the contracts are signed, the community will be the first to hear where we are going to list on. Should there be now, after seeing, we recorded this AMA for a while, it has become more of a community update in which we should at least expect the questions we had, that in it we tried to include and answer as much as possible already in our story. This will be public, so should the community, after seeing this video, still have some burning questions, then of course they just know where to find us in our channels. And then nothing else remains for me to thank the team for their time and energy. A special thank you to Joachim. For hosting our first AMA, I just have a feeling it's going to be more of a weekly occurrence over the next few years than a monthly one. So I have already prepared for it. And that leaves me with nothing else but to wish everyone a very good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys, for your effort and energy. Thank you.